Right.
A big lad started work in the aircraft, so the lads took him out for some beers. And soon they were calling him Dumbo, because of the size of his ears. But after a couple of hours, well, they had to face up to the truth. There was no two ways about it. Big Dumbo was only a droof. He was knocking back halfings like water. So wee Jimmy looks up and he says,
"Hey, if you take any more, you'll be flying."
The big lad says,
"Old hon, I can fly,"
says wee Jim.
"Do you mean you're a pilot?" "Well, I just hope that I'm still around the next time you're going up solo and they get the old big lathe off the ground."
The big lad says,
"I need no aeroplane when I go on the tower. I get a few bottles and halfings and just go straight up in the air."
Well, the whole place went into hysterics to think of the very idea. But the big laugh just shook his head and says to wee Jim,
"Hold my beer."
Then he took a book lap on the counter. The lads could do nothing but laugh. And he gives a few flaps of his ear legs. And by God, the bugger took off. And before you could knock back a half, and he was buzzing around the light like a flaming great moth round a lantern you'd see on a good summer's night. Then he swoops right down on wee Jimmy and snatches the beer from his hand, says wee Jim,
"Man your head there, I think he's gone in for the lawn."
But landing was not on his programme, for the window was open, you see. So he flutters straight out the window and he shouts,
"I'm for dark a day."
Well, the whole boys stood back in amazement and said, "Where's he got to at all?" Says wee Jim.
"But Jesus is him. He's letting the earl sitting hold."
And right enough, there he was perching about 85 feet above ground, sharing his peace with the pigeons and them starlings all fluttering round. Says wee Jim,
"We'll creep up on him easy. If we go up too quick, he'll take fright. Put a bottle of beer in a window and maybe he'll roost there all night."
But before the lads could get near him, he flew right into the air. Says wee Jim,
"I still think he's done. I could not have believed it. If I had not, I had been there."
I can hardly believe it myself. And he flew right into the air like. And wee Jim says, or the big lad says, or somebody says,
"You think he's in for a laugh?"
Jim.
"I still think he's in for a lawn and the flops of his trousers is down."
But the lad just went higher and flyer and flew right over the town. Says wee Jim,
"I still think he's in for a lawn and the flops of his trousers is down."
he loves saying that. That's his favourite. Now, you've heard of them astronaut Yankees?
Yeah.
Well, they left a wireless set on the moon. And here, it keeps sending back old daft information like, it's going to blow up. And how soon? Well, they were sitting around Cape Kennedy when a fellow with phones in his head says, "I hear a voice coming down on the moon here, but I can't make out what it said." Up steps a fellow from Belfast. He says, "There's nothing wrong with that." It said,
"Two with the neck and a halfing, and make sure the halfing is hot."
the voice in the headphones kept answering.
And it says, "I'm awful thick. Tell Shorts I'll be in on Monday. Till then I shall be on the thick."
Well, it seemed that your man went off course like that fool he couldn't half see, and he lit right into the moonlight instead of Donaghadee. Now, there's some of you won't believe this and think the whole story's a cod, but it's as true as Big Ian's a Catholic, and as true as the Pope is a fraud.
Well, that was a wing and a prayer. Definitely wing and a prayer.
Oh, we got there in the end. Yeah, we got there in the
How
end.
many
It's
times
okay.
you've done that?
As long
That's the one.
as long as I finish the game.
This is a true story now.
True ahead.
It's about Billy. You know wee Billy.
Billy.
Billy, hi Billy.
Billy.
Not Billy. Anyway, yeah, no. And So he's getting on a wee bit and he couldn't walk on the 12th. It was near killing him because he'd always walk. He said, I can't stick it. I have to get out of here. If I can't walk on the 12th, I'm getting out, right?
Breaking his heart.
So
Yes.
he got us 2 weeks sick.
Yeah.
And he decided to take a wee cruise on Loch Ness. So anyway, away he goes. And he's on the boat this night and the captain sends for him to sit down at the table. And the galley, right?
Loch Ness.
And in Loch Ness.
What a
Yes,
cruise.
in Loch Ness.
All
I
right,
know
all
that.
right, no, go ahead.
Sit there.
Right.
So anyway, captain sends for him. And also at the table was a Frenchman. And the Frenchman said to Billy, bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
And Billy said, Billy Mahaffey. So anyway, that's Billy said. The captain calls him over and he says, let me tell you something, Billy. What the Frenchman is actually saying, have a good meal, but he's speaking French. And he said, fair dues. Fair dues. That's not French. Fair dues. So the next night, called down the captain's table and the Frenchman, no, wee Billy said to the Frenchman, bon appetit. And the Frenchman said, Billy Mahaffey.
Rachel,
It's not funny, he told me that. He can say it for telling jokes like that.
No.
nothing wrong with you.
Wait a minute. Here.
What are you doing?
Tell you what, now I'm gonna give this one. Do you know the Earl Dungannon?
The judge.
Yes, I know
Get
that.
him.
Right. This is it now. Hold on.
In the county Tyrone, near the town of Dungannon, where many's a ruction myself had a hunting. Bob Williamson lived there, and we were by trade, and all of us thought I must slide or play. But Bob did a see where he took us all in, for he married a baby's called Bridget McGinn. Torn babies himself, he pursued the old cause that gave us our freedom, religion and law. On the 12th of July, as it yearly did come, Bob played on the flute to the sound of the drum. You may talk of your harp, your piano or lute, but none could compare with the Irish lute. Now the boys of the townland made comment upon it, and Bob had to fly to the province of Connaught. He fled with his wife and his fixings to boot, and along with a lot of the Earl Cheerily, cheerily, sure it's 6 nights from Bangor to Connaught the day. At the chapel on Sundays to atone for past deeds, he said patters and aves and counted his beads, till after some time at the priest's own desire, he went with his old flute to play in the choir. He went with his old flute to play in the mass, but the instrument shivered and sighed, oh alas. And for all he could whistle and finger and blow, to play Papa's music he found it no go. Bob jumped and he fluttered and got in a splutter, and threw the old flute in the blessed holy water. He thought that this charm would bring some other sound. When he blew it again, it played Crumpy's Light Down. And for all he could whistle and finger and blow, to play Papa's music he found it no go. Kick the pump, the boiling water, it freely would sound, but one Papa's squeak in it couldn't be found. At the council of priests that was held the next day, they decided to banish the old flute away, for they couldn't knock heresy out of its head. So they bought Bob a new one to play in instead. Sad. So the old flute was doomed on its fate was pathetic. 'Twas fastened and burned at the stake as heretic. As the flames roared around it, they heard a great noise. 'Twas a air fluted whistling the Protestant. Tooraloo, tooralay, tooralay, sings from Bangor to
Well done, Joe.
Come here. Was I telling you about Lizzie Lorman? You know we Lizzie lives up my back?
Uh-huh.
Well, actually not so much about Lizzie, more about her Willie. Have a wee bit of her with her Willie. Uh-huh.
Oh, Willie is
Well, you know William. William. We call him William. You would know him as Billy. We call him William.
Yes.
And he's very fond of the liquor, you know, and he likes a wee gamble. And that was the whole problem, because he got his holiday money, and she had been looking forward to his holiday money to see her over the 12th. And he thinks he'll take himself off to the dogs. Up she goes to try and stop him before he'd spend all his money. And there she is walking down Alexander Park Avenue, and she sees the crowds coming up. And she stops this wee man, she says, "Excuse me," she says, "is that the dogs getting out?" He says, "No, love, that's the mugs. The dogs come out in taxis."
One for the road.
One for the road.
Red bricks in the suburbs, white horse in the wall, Italian marble in the city hall. O stranger to Belfast, why stand so aghast? May the Lord in his mercy be kind to Belfast.
The treasure that houses our hopes and our fears was knocked up by a swamp in the last 100 years. And the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. May the Lord in his mercy be kind to Belfast.
Oh, the bricks they will bleed, and the rain it will weep. On the damp lagging fog, lull the city to sleep. It's the hell with the future, and long live the past. May the Lord in his mercy be kind to Belfast.
Well done, Joe.
Well
Brilliant,
done.
brilliant.
Here's the night.
Here, that's some melodeon there.
Brilliant. You like him?
Hey, Leah, where's my coat? Hey, Bernie! Bernie, did you hear the one about that?
Oh, yes.